Do you think the at the EU level? Well, we know at the EU level clearly from the narrative that has come out around what has happened in Cyprus and what's happening now in Malta, with the certain legal issues, whatever. The EU, Brussels, may be slightly uncomfortable with the whole golden visa thing. We get that, but is Brussels also potentially uncomfortable with special tax regimes as well? Because and I say this in context, and when someone asks me something like this, I do recall, well, hey, once upon a time you could have moved to Portugal with your pension and it would have been zero. And then certain other European countries complained to Brussels, and then it was 10%. And similarly, there's been some, let's say, restructuring of the tax benefits of Madeira structures as well, and some other European special tax planning opportunities that are disappearing. Again, stepping back, Todd, I mean, this is perhaps your space. What are your sentiments? What is your interest? What is your experience telling you here?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very interesting question that was raised by the participant. The one thing I would say is that in my travels, 15 years into Spain and 8 years on a professional level, speaking with tax attorneys, immigration attorneys, I haven't heard the concern about some sort of Brussels legislation or uniformity. As you rightly pointed out a minute ago, Darren, nothing lasts forever, and you can't rule anything out. So there certainly could be, the potential for some sort of EU regulation. The other side of the coin is that water finds its appropriate level, and as long as there isn't some sort of harmonization or general legislation throughout the EU, people will continue to, find the opportunity that makes the most sense for them when it comes to either migration or how their, pension might be taxed, and these will be considerations. I think the interesting thing is that here we are talking about kind of the potential end of the golden visa program, or at least a change when it comes to Portugal. And this is that water finding its appropriate level. I mean, rightly or wrongly, their government has taken a stance as to what that golden visa opportunity has meant to their local economy, and more specifically, real estate prices. And there most likely will be another Mediterranean country that will be the beneficiary of this, and then perhaps that Mediterranean country will then say, you know what, we've kind of exacerbated what we can take from an inbound immigration, and then perhaps it will focus back on Spain. And so, like I said, I kind of leave that other Mediterranean country, out of the mix, because we're talking about Spain and Portugal. But I do think that there is this cyclical nature of where immigration and more specifically retirees and money flows, and it has a lot to do with the lack of harmonization on this front. So, kind of tying it back, like you said, nothing lasts forever. It could certainly change in time, but I think the benefit of the EU and having opportunities to kind of go where you might want to from an inbound immigration relies on a little bit of competitiveness when it comes to tax rates and immigration law.
Andres, do you want to comment on that, or? Yeah.
It's just basically exactly on that. That was exactly what we're thinking. I mean, EU harmonization, etc. It is a necessarily a good thing, and tax rates zero, they are just basically too aggressive. But we cannot think that all countries should have the same exact amount of taxation in terms of personal or product clients, etc., or companies, because every jurisdiction has their own particularities, and any jurisdiction has their own needs. So as long as, of course, it is not a reputable tax haven, it is just basically complies with the duty of reporting and etc. There is nothing extraordinarily bad to say I'm going to compete from a tax perspective, because what I want to touch base on affluent people, successful entrepreneurs that come here to live on these shores, that they're going to pay taxes, they are going to be compliant with all OECD standards, they are going to start their businesses, they are going to build more wealth for the people in the generations to come. And some jurisdictions may need that more than others, and that's fine. So that is my take, to be honest with you. If there is going to be an harmonization in the future, like Told said, you never know. You never know might happen. But at the same time, that it will be just basically that you going too deep into the powers of each particular country. And there, of course, we're going to see some views against more than in favor, most likely.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing those perspectives. Me personally, I mean, obviously, we're aware of the BEPS initiative, the base erosion and profit shifting. We know what's going on in the UN, OECD level. We know within Europe, within the OECD, we also have the MDRs, the mandatory disclosure rules. In Europe, in particular, we have DAC 6, and looking forward, well, it's on the horizon, DAC 8. So basically, once upon a time, there was a lot more leeway in terms of individuals in the opportunity to tax plan and jurisdictions in their ability to shape attractive incentives. But, over the last decade or two, we've seen an erosion of both individual and national sovereignty. We have a global minimum tax. We have the principal purpose test, which is kind of like, what what COVID has done to supply chain. Some people argue that that's what the principal purpose test is doing to the whole tax planning space. So there seems to be a lot of, to your point, harmonization, at least at that macro level, at the level of the multilateral institutional framework. And my concern, there was a so-called leak in the media as recently as today. So today, for those who are watching this in the future, we are May the 17th, and in terms of one of the political parties in the UK, they have as part of their policy proposals as the UK moves into elections to materially scale back the res non-dom incentive. And it appears as if there may be bipartisan support. So I think perhaps both parties see that. So it seems as if there's not a conspiracy, but there's a consensus at the level of the OECD, definitely to cut back on what were previously legitimate and okay planning opportunities. But as we see, well, this is a moving target, and we'll see what the powers that be have in the future. But, let's watch this space.
So if you're a 6, 7, or 8-figure investor, entrepreneur, or business owner who needs a tailor-made solution from a qualified team of professionals, we can help you achieve the international lifestyle, the freedom, and even the tax savings you're looking for. Visit us at htj.tax and live that international life.